Meanwhile, in Asia, USSR, obviously a communist power, extends right throughout the northern section of the continent of Asia, right all the way across to this furthermost easterly point. After the Second World War, because America had been at war with Japan, American forces had come into the south of Korea, which was controlled by Japan during the Second World War and before, and Russian forces, under the wartime agreements, had come to the US aid and had invaded the northern section of Japan. Before that conflict could get underway, though, there was a civil war in China between the communist forces, led by Mao, and nationalist forces, led by Chiang Kai-shek. So a very similar situation to the civil war that we'd had in Greece. Now, the Americans were involved in this civil war in the same way that they were in the civil war in Greece, but here they were giving, as well as money, they were giving materials, technology, and various other bits and pieces to Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists to enable him to defeat Mao and the communists. However, Mao would ultimately win this Chinese civil war and establish the CCP, or the Chinese Communist Party, in control of what became known as the People's Republic of China, or the PRC. Meanwhile, Chiang Kai-shek was chased out to the island of Taiwan, where he established the Republic of China, or the ROC. So this led to this two China situation. Both claimed to be China. Chiang Kai-shek claimed that his Republic of China, based on the island of Taiwan, was the real China. Mao claimed that his China on the mainland, the People's Republic of China, was the main China. Regardless, this meant that by 1949, the US had effectively, was described as having lost China. And the reason it was described as having lost China is it was lost it to communists, but also because the Americans were involved on the side of the nationalists, they were on the losing side. And it was somehow suggested that it was their own ineptitude that had lost that civil war, that American material and supplies and that sort of should have helped Chiang Kai-shek win, so that Americans had lost China. They had allowed it to become communist. Well, now this creates this major problem, because by 1949, not only have you lost the USSR to communism, which, okay, had been communist since 1917, but you've now got China as a communist power. So the two biggest countries in the world in terms of landmass have become communist. And this just adds fuel to that flame of domino theory, the suggestion that once one country goes, the other countries will follow. So that then moves relations to the Korean Peninsula, which is the next battlefront, or the next area that's going to be contentious in the Cold War. Because by this point, this northern section of Korea, which now also is communist, decides, or the North Koreans decide that they're going to push south and try and make this area here into a communist country too. The Americans, with United Nations Army, fight back, and over a 3-year war, they effectively establish the position whereby Korea is split on this line here, which we call the 38th parallel, and North Korea up here stays communist, and South Korea stays capitalist, and that's the situation we've got today. So much like Greece and Turkey, the Americans feel that this is a bit of a success story, because once again they have contained communism, much like they had in Europe with Greece and Turkey. They'd stopped communism from spreading. Here they feel, with this line here, that they have also stopped communism in its tracks. They've contained it. Now, this will have dangerous precedents for later on, because the next flashpoint in Asia is going to be this country here, which is the country of Vietnam, which, as things stand, at the end of the Korean War, is also split in two along something called the 17th parallel, and that is going to be one of the next flashpoints. The Americans take away from the lesson of the Korean War. that they can successfully intervene in Asia to contain communism in the same way that they had in Europe with the Truman Doctrine, which pertained to Greece and Turkey. While it might have succeeded in Korea, as we'll see, it does not succeed in Vietnam.